Hello everybody, and welcome to my first brew video. I'm going to go over a Saison from Homebrewtalk that I believe is about 3 years old, the recipe is. So I'm going to give it a try. I've got all my ingredients here and in a bucket on the floor, and I'm going to try to brew up something nice. This is my first time with this Saison, and I have golden candy syrup, which I've used before in a Saison, in a high gravity Sierra Nevada clone that I brewed, and it was okay, but Saisons really bring it down, and I believe I was using, what was it, 1056, the East Coast yeast. So this Belle Saison yeast will just eat this up. Then I've got some acidulated malt and some Breeze Golden Pills Vienna malt and the cheapest wheat I could find, which was the Breeze red wheat. And I have a bunch of two-row, but the two-row might not be enough. I might not have 8 pounds in there, and if I don't, I'll have to go to the garage and probably pause this video. So I will start by putting my grain bag into the bucket, and then eventually I'm going to put all the grains here in this cereal killer and put it over the bucket. But before that, I'm going to weigh it. I have a scale here, and I'm going to weigh each one of these grains. I have a recipe on my phone, if I can get to it, which will tell me all of the grains that I need. Let's see. Okay, this is going to be a 5-gallon batch, and the grains that I'm going to need are 8 pounds and 10 ounces of Pilsner two-row. Well, I've got two-row, so whether it's a Pilsner or not, it'll have to do. 2.5 pounds of wheat. I believe I have 3 here. Actually, not 2.5. 2 pounds, 14 ounces of the wheat. I have 3. I'll take a little bit out. 2 ounces out. And then 7.5 ounces of Vienna malt. And I have here 16 ounces, and here I have 16 ounces as well. The other ingredients, it uses Wilmette hops and Saaz hops, and then my yeast is going to be the Belle Saison. I've got the candy sugar, and then finally, something I've had but I haven't used, coriander seed. So I don't know what I'm going to do, put that in the coffee grinder or put it in a bag, and because it says crushed, I could crush it with a can. So I am going to grind these up, mill them, and we'll move on from there. Jump cut right here. Okay, now I have the acidulated malt. I'm going to put 3.8 ounces in here. I already zeroed this out. I will zero it out again. Okay, so 3.8 ounces. There we go. And I will put that inside the mill. Now I'm going to tape this up so I don't spill it everywhere. And we'll move on to the Golden Pills Vienna malt. Okay, now we're going to add 7.7 ounces of the Vienna malt. This is going to be delicious. It's already been zeroed out. Alright. Little over, probably doesn't matter, since it's not my recipe. Okay. 7.7. And it goes. Now, we'll move on to the next grain, which will be the red wheat that I have in this paper bag, purchased from my local homebrew supply store, which is attached to a brewery, Oso Brewery, which is delicious. They make great sours. Love their stuff. So this should be, I don't know how much I have in here. 4 pounds, I think. And I think I need 3 point, I don't even know. 14 ounces? 3 pounds, 14 ounces? Let me see. £2 pounds, 14 ounces. So there should be 3 pounds in here. But I'm sticking to the recipe, so I'll save this for later. Oh. Okay, here's 2 pounds, 8 ounces. Maybe I mismeasured. Maybe the store's scale is off. 2 pounds, 12 ounces. And 2 pounds, 14. I'll have 2 ounces to use in my next Hefeweizen. So this goes in. And the serial killer is getting full. Let's see. 8 pounds, 10 ounces for the Pilsner. 8 pounds, 10 ounces. Okay. Well, I'm going to start milling this, and then through movie magic, this will be done quicker than I can do while being recorded. All right. All right. Woo! Well, that's only what? About 4 pounds? No, about 3 pounds. And now for all the 2-row. All right, and now for the 2-row. Let's try to get 4 pounds and then throw it in, and 4 pounds, throw it in. Or 3. Or less than 3. Okay, Here's 2.5. Actually, there's 2.5. 2 ounces, or 2 pounds and 8 ounces. Let's do another 2.5. There's another. Another 2.5. So 5 pounds. Ah! Well, so much for exact measurements. Since it's going to be mashed and boiled, I'll take it off the countertop. Since it's fairly clean. Okay. Hopefully none landed in my coffee. Okay. 5 pounds. We need 8 pounds. Oh my gosh. Is it 8 pounds, 8 ounces? 8 pounds, 10 ounces. So, we need 3.8. Which I won't get. So how about 1.8 and then 2? There we go. 1.8. Oh, 2 pounds isn't going to go in there. So we'll measure it out. And then we'll put it in there while I'm grinding. Or milling. So. Oh, almost threw a 50-pound bag. I either drink too much or I brew too much. There we go, 2 pounds. Okay. I'm gonna put my base grains away before I forget. Okay. So, movie magic again. This is gonna go in there. Mill it down into my bag. All right. It's almost too easy, like nothing's going on. The other stuff was so hard to grind. Ah. Okay, now that there's a little bit more room, I'm gonna put in the rest of the grains. Okay. More milling. Woo! Success! Okay, now that it's done milling, I'm going to get my kettle and I'm going to start heating up the water to strike temperature. And then I believe the mash needs to be for 150 degrees Fahrenheit. And I believe it's an hour. It could be 90 minutes. I have to check the recipe again. Getting this water heated up on this stovetop is going to be a challenge, like it always is. But that's home brewing for me. If I had a kegel outside, if I brewed on a burner, or if I had a gas stove, it might be different. But it's not that bad. I don't need to have a super rolling boil. Just enough to get it up to a boil. But even then, I don't mind. So, I'm going to get the kettle, clean it out, start putting the water in the kettle. Trick I use is I use this hot water kettle, this electric tea kettle. I'll put a half a gallon in there. I'll heat it up. I'll add it to the kettle to get my mash temperature just right. And then I'll dough in the grains, shut it off, dough in the grains, put towels around it, and let it sit. So my brew in the bag method is pretty simple and straightforward. I don't even sparge. I just let it drain. And I just purchased the largest colander I think I've ever seen that's not commercial. This thing is huge. Thing is huge. I mean, I could put it completely around my head. I mean, to put it another way, it goes completely over this mill. So I'm going to put this in a saucepan, and I'm going to let my grains sit. And then I bought these gloves that somebody from Homebrewtalk talked about, and they're kind of cumbersome, but I'm going to squeeze that grain bag, and it'll be a lot easier than holding it over a sauce pot and just burning my hands. So I'll start getting the water up, move the camera, and bring you back in. Okay, so right now I have about 5 gallons in the mash tub. It's heating up quickly, but I just dumped a cold gallon in, and there's a tea kettle heating, and I've got 1 more gallon before getting it to 6 gallons. And then I'm going to dough in the grains with an extra half gallon in the tea kettle, just in case. Right now, it's at almost 120 degrees, so it's going to be a little while. I estimate it'll be about a half an hour before I can get this to about 160, where I'm going to dough in the grains. So I'll keep at it. Okay, so the temperature is now right about 160. The mash temperature is supposed to be 150, so once I dough it in, the temperature is going to drop. I've got a kettle of hot water just in case to fill it up. So we'll see if I can put it in there without spilling all over, messing up the countertop and the stove, and upsetting the wife. Probably not going to happen, but let's see. So it's about 160. I predict once I dough it in, it'll drop down to 150. So we're going to turn off the heat. I'll even take it off the heat. Alright, so it's off the heat. I've got my, I don't know how many pounds of grain this is. 10 pounds? More? Less? I'm just gonna slowly dip this in. Oh, it's perfect. That is perfect. Now, this is not the way most people will dough in their grains, but I don't care. I don't care. I just want it to get done. So, now I'm going to stir. Get them all doughed in. And there is a lot of room for water. Maybe, I don't know. Oh, there goes my stove. Maybe another, I'd say, gallon. Oh, oh, oh. And it landed head side up. Though, we'll get some star sand. Anyways, who knows what's on this floor? So that dropped it down to 150. We'll put it in this hot water, which is not boiling. I can already see it raising a bit, but I'll stir it in. Okay, so that's exactly 6 gallons, and the temperature is exactly 150. I'm gonna give it a stir. Okay. Now let's put on this lid. And cover this up. All I do is clip it and put a towel on top. And this is so insulated that I never lose much heat. Okay, so now I'm going to set the timer for 1 hour. I'll come back to it, take a hydrometer reading, and then see where we're at. Okay, so the mash has been done for about an hour now. So I'm going to take off these towels and just take a temperature to see how far the temperature has dropped. Oh, I lost the clip. Here's the clip. Okay. Still feels hot. I cannot deny that. It is hot, hot, hot. So we'll bring back over my spoon and thermometer, and I'm just going to give this a quick stir and put the thermometer in. And so far, it's rising. It looks like it is right about 149. So really, we didn't lose much. You know, 1 degree, I'm more than happy. So I'm going to try to stir this just a little bit. And try not to get too much grains on this spoon. And now for the part that I was waiting for, trying out my new excuse me. Oh. Okay, here's going to be an awkward cut. I forgot the mic. Okay. Oh well. So now we have better sound. Okay. Anyways, now I'm going to put this on the other side, and I'm going to use my strainer to try to catch some of this wort. So I was going to use a saucepan. This saucepan is a little small. I thought there was another saucepan I was going to use, but let's see. Oh. I can still put it in here. It just has to stay right on top. Okay, so I'm going to put it in here. It's going to catch all the wort coming out. It's going to go into this saucepan. And then I'm going to squeeze, instead of squeezing it right over this. Okay, so we'll do a little bit of juggling here. Let's see. Okay. So, as this is working, I'm going to turn, well, first of all, I'm going to get this off first. Where is my, here we go. I've got gloves that I'm going to be using to squeeze, but I don't think I need the gloves right away. I think I can pull this off and lift. So as you can see, if I had a pulley, it'd be a lot easier. Normally I put the spoon over it, but it's been my experience if I put a spoon over this and just let it sit on the spoon, it drains on the stove. Okay. Okay. This looks like it might work. I'll let this do its magic. I'm gonna fire up the kettle again. Try to get this boiling. But before that, I'm gonna stir this up. I'm gonna take a gravity reading just to see what the gravity is pre-boil. I can't believe that it would be low, but I'm not going to do an iodine test. I know that sugars got out of this. I'm not worried about that. Okay. Okay, so just a little bit on here. This says it is about 14 bricks. So without looking that up, I don't know how much that is off the top of my head. I think maybe 1050, maybe. I'm not worried about it. This is going to boil down some more. I'm going to get the rest of the wort and put it in there, which is a lot. I did not squeeze this yet. And I have the candy syrup. That's going to bump it up a lot. Almost too much. I might have to add boiled water into the bucket, cooled, boiled and cooled, to get it up to 5 gallons. I'm not worried, because with the candy sugar, the syrup, and with how many grains, the gravity is going to be high enough as it is. And I know for the recipe, the gravity is supposed to be like 1065 or 1070. It's supposed to be really high, and with this Belle Saison yeast, it should ferment down to really low, like 1004. Some people get down to, 0.99, which is wine level. I don't think it's worth it. But I'm going to let this boil. I'm going to squeeze the hell out of this bag. And then when it gets time to adding the hops in, I'll start this back up. Hi. Just to show you how much I got out of this new colander without even getting messy, much messy. I don't know if you can see it, but this saucepan is full. Normally that'd be a lot of squeezing, a lot of burnt hands. And I'm not even done. I'm gonna put this colander right back on here. Of course with clean hands, so my hands are gonna be sticky now. And I'm going to continue squeezing. Again, if I had a pulley system, if I was doing this in the garage, this would be different. Also, I wish I had a way of measuring how much water is literally in here, since I'm not used to going up to 10 pounds of grain. It's like I'm used to having 6.5 gallons of water to start with, and then moving up. So if this boils down to 4.5 gallons, I'm going to have to top it up. And I don't mind. I will top it up. But I normally don't, because I do a full mash, I do a full boil. I usually don't top up. Usually I just leave it as is, because by the time I've pitched the yeast, I just want to leave it. And even if I don't pitch the yeast yet, I usually have the oxygen out. I oxygenate it, and then I think, oh great, it's not all the way up level to 5 gallons, or, oh, it's over 5 gallons. And I think, well, as long as the final gravity, or the original gravity, when it's in the bucket is fine, I am usually okay with it. The final product never tastes bad. I'm just not as nitpicky when it comes to the details of exact gravity, exact gallons. Maybe this time I did do exact ounces of grain, but I'm trying to go by the recipe. So, we'll get this to a boil, and then we'll start adding the hops. Okay. The wort's almost to a boil. It's 200 degrees. I just took a hydrometer reading, and it went up to 16 bricks. And that's because I squeezed the grains and put them back into the wort. Of course, it's going to boil down. The gravity is going to go up because the water is going to leave. I may have to add water, like I said. Probably not. So, once it hits 212 or whatever boiling is, I'll add the Wilmette hops. I've got 1.5 ounces. And then I'm going to add Saaz, 1.5, I think at 10 minutes to flame out. 5 minutes to flame out, I'm going to add 1/2 ounce of coriander seed, which I'm going to pulverize somehow. And then I'll finally add the candy syrup at about flame out. So, once it gets around flame out, I'll let you know how it went. Hi. I've got about 10 minutes left to the boil. I added my Saaz, and then I started a yeast starter, kind of. I rehydrated the yeast, which I'm not used to using this Belle Saison yeast. This Belle Saison yeast fluffed up so much. I don't know if you can see this. I had to actually stir it some more because of how frothy it is. Normally, with this yeast, I would just dump it right on the top, but it's said to use to rehydrate it, so I am. So now I'll wait the last 10 minutes, chill it down with my work chiller here, and then I'll pitch this yeast. All right. Okay, right now I have the work chiller chilling the wort. It's about at 100 degrees. The yeast is frothing out of this freaking jar. I should have put it in something bigger. I thought that was 4 ounces, and it just... The candy syrup must have been old because the bottom was hard and I didn't notice it. So I had to put some wort in it, stir it around. I actually had to take a screwdriver, this old wooden one, and I had to bang on it until I broke up all that candy sugar that was solidified. So hopefully it's not bad. It smelled good, but it should have been syrup. So who knows how long it's been sitting on that shelf. So I'm going to let this cool down, maybe about 70 degrees. I'm going to put in the oxygen that I have over there, and then I'm going to dump it in the bucket. And I will come back for a final thought. Alright. While my wort is finally chilling down, I'll even turn this down a bit. But while it's finally chilling down, I'm getting the oxygen ready, and I'm also cleaning everything, and the yeast seems to be settling down, which might be a bad thing. But it made me start thinking about a topic that was on Homebrewtalk.com, and that's the bucket versus carboy argument. And it's my opinion that the bucket is far superior for me. Will air permeate it? I don't know. I don't lager this for months. But one thing is, I can take the entire lid off this bucket. I can get both hands in there and I can clean it out. I've never had an infection, even when using bread. Well, I infected it myself, but I've never had an infection because of a scratch or anything like that. So these buckets are fine. Even when there's a leak in the seal, like where the airlock goes in, or if I don't pound on the lid hard enough, it doesn't matter. The beer turns out. And I think people that have to have glass carboys, I mean, I have a better bottle over there that I use every once in a while for ciders. And it's all the same, other than the fact that, do I want to have a bottle brush and try to get the sides off? Or do I want to leave PBW in there for 2 days, letting it soak? I'd rather be able to take a washcloth and just wash it out. I never understood why they don't have better bottles with wide lids. Because the caps that go on the better bottles, they're just rubber caps. You could have a rubber cap that goes right on a bucket. Just my opinion. But I thought I'd bring that up while this is about 10 degrees away from me throwing it in the bucket, oxygenating it, and pitching this yeast and calling it a night. Okay, well, the final gravity, or the original gravity at the end of the boil, right before I put in the yeast, was about 17 bricks. So that's after I put in the candy sugar, and not all of the candy sugar, because some of it was in the bottom, crystallized. I oxygenated for about a minute and a half with good oxygen. I pitched the yeast, which the foamed back down, but I know it's going to be great. So I'm going to let it rise up naturally for a day. So tomorrow, about this time, I'm going to plug in my brew belt. And my brew belt is going to bring it up, I think, about 10 degrees. So it should bring up at about 80, maybe. And then I'm going to keep it there for at least 2 weeks. And then I will come back, I will keg it, and I will let it carbonate for about a week, if not 2. And then I'll do a final tasting and a review of how Shipwreck Saison ended up. First Saison that I used, the Bell Saison yeast, and not White Labs Saison. It's the first time I used coriander, so hopefully it doesn't taste like soap. Yeah, I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I've had this liquid candy syrup before, and I thought it just tasted boozy, so hopefully this doesn't end up too boozy. But it did end up topping right to 5, if not a little bit higher than 5. It looks good. I have high hopes. The yeast seemed to just thrive in this little cup that I rehydrated it in. So I have only confidence that this beer is going to end up being delicious. Of course, it's a Saison. You know, it hopefully will have spicy notes and hopefully won't just be boozy because I added the sugar. But I know everybody that drinks it is going to think it's awesome, so I guess it doesn't matter what I think, it just matters what everybody else who's drinking it thinks. So I will come back in about 2 weeks, keg it, and another week, and maybe give it a final taste.